The Sauk River watershed is located in central Minnesota, and its land is dominated by industrial agriculture, while its lakes are mostly used for recreation like boating and fishing. Our specific water body is the North Bay of Sauk Lake, located directly north of the city of Sauk Center. This lake is mostly used for recreation like fishing, and its shoreline is mostly populated by private homes and is surrounded in close proximity by industrial agriculture, growing mainly corn and soy. The main issue within this watershed, and specifically the North Bay of Sauk Lake, is phosphorus impairment due to runoff from industrial agriculture. This is especially prevalent in this area because the soil is already rich in phosphorus. Sediment from increased development pressure can also get into runoff, increasing phosphorus levels in the lake, causing eutrophication, which kills fish and plants, negatively affecting recreational fishing on the lake, which is its major draw. Our proposed solution to the issue of runoff in the North Bay involves a universal buffer system which would incentivize farmers and private landowners alike to give up a portion of their land to be converted to buffer. The addition of buffer zones would allow for vegetation to stop runoff before it can reach water bodies and pollute them. This proposal would allow for cover crops and trees to be planted, reforesting the area. This would allow for new sites for recreation, creating an economic incentive for landowners to participate, and also creating an opportunity for reinvestment in communities across the watershed. In order to make this proposal a reality, we would need the involvement of a number of community stakeholders, specifically the Sauk River Watershed District, who currently maintains and regulates the watershed, as well as organizations like the Soil and Water Conservation District, who works more closely with individual landowners such as private landowners and individual land dispute.
To better represent the process that would take place, we can look at the spatial representation below. At the level of each individual plot, about 1/5 of each acre on a single plot would be converted to buffer. Ideally, these buffers are connected across plots with some kind of logic in order to create a universal buffer and develop space for recreation as an economic incentive for our proposal. This process would take place both in rural or agricultural lands as well as private land which comes up to those shores of the water body. Once landowners make the decision to work with us on this proposal, it is ultimately up to them on how they apportion the required buffers. This could look like each landlord apportioning a different corner of their land for the buffer, but in order for our proposal to be most effective, it would be encouraged that the adjacent landowners work together to create large swaths of buffer. This is in their best interest because it would facilitate recreation most effectively, resulting in economic returns for them. At the scale of an individual water body, it is clear how this proposal will create a larger separation between industrial agricultural land, which is currently pushing almost directly up against the water body shores, and the shoreline of the water body. By creating this larger buffer, it is possible to push back agriculture further from the shore and protect the shorelines of all other different water bodies in the Sauk River watershed. This forms a space for recreation which would create an economic benefit for landowners which does not currently exist. Moving away from any single water body does not mean that this process stops. While at the moment there are only regulations for buffers on the land which is near a lake or river, our proposal would stretch to the entire watershed. The universal buffer would be intertwined into rural land, creating connections between other areas which are already protected or forested, resulting in a more pervasive change across the watershed.
Creating connections between buffers is key to creating a change at the scale of the entire water body. At the moment, the watershed is dominated by agriculture which butts up against the water bodies due to lack of significant buffers. Stopping runoff at the source is key to the entire Sauk River watershed because the Sauk River runs through the entirety of the watershed. This means that any impairment of the river or a connecting water body can pollute any number of water bodies across the watershed. In this zoomed-in view, we can see how the universal buffer would work to connect individual buffers and catch runoff more efficiently, stopping runoff before it can get into a water body and continue through the watershed via the Sauk River. Our solution can play out in a number of ways. Very few farmers comply or are willing to participate, leading to sparse buffer zones, which are disconnected and create little change in the scope of the entire watershed. 2, a significant amount of farmers participate, and many are even incentivized to work together to connect their buffer zones, leading to some connection and the beginnings of spaces which may be utilized for recreation. However, this may be only in certain areas and is not comprehensive enough to completely solve the problem. Finally, the key to creating long-lasting change related to our proposed solution is the connection between farmers working together and the lands which are already forested and or protected by public entities. Here we can see how the watershed would transform if the majority of farmers work together, creating reforested and vegetated lands which connect with already existing recreation and protective spaces to solve the issues and connecting areas across the entire watershed where people can hike, learn about the land, or simply enjoy being outside in the Sauk River watershed.
These new spaces, created by reforesting and adding new types of vegetation, could be utilized for a number of recreational purposes. These may become hiking trails, a space for public parks, an informational area to showcase the land and plants of the Sauk River watershed, or even facilitate research. Furthermore, these buffers will still provide benefits to the agricultural landowners. They can grow crops in these buffers that require less chemicals, such as alfalfa, and therefore help prevent agricultural runoff while still turning a profit.
By implementing our proposal, we would impart a noteworthy change in the general landscape of the Sauk River watershed. By connecting these buffers together, we would be able to incentivize landowners economically by developing these areas as recreation. These buffers would not only protect shorelines, but stretch across the area, connecting protected and forested lands to create a universal buffer, which will change the way the watershed operates and further protect its waters.